So in terms of approach, it's quite classic. So it's the same for SMEs or for big companies. It always starts by a first exercise of carbon accounting. So it's basically it's to understand where are the real CO2 impact. So we are not talking about only energy. We are looking for all the physical flows, in fact, related to an activity inside a company. So all the kilowatt hour of energy that are consumed, but also all the kilometer that can be traveled, all the kilogram of raw material that are consumed. And we translate all of that, all of these physical flows into CO2 impact in order to show at the end where they have to prioritize their action in order to reduce their carbon footprint. So we are not really focused on economical accounting, financial accounting. So it's really another way to count. So it's an extra financial accounting, and here it's carbon accounting. And so at the beginning, it's always difficult. The first exercise is always difficult because for SMEs, as for big companies, they do know well all the euros data, but when we are asking for a kilowatt hour, sometimes with the invoices it's okay, but when we are talking about kilometers, kilograms, and so on, that becomes sometimes quite complex. So the first exercise is really focused on raising awareness about the importance to monitor all this data. We are not talking too much about ambitious reduction action. So it's something more for the second and third year. But for the first one, we are really focused on that. It's a way to provide to us a first order of their climate impact in terms of magnitude. So we are talking about a ton of CO2 equivalent related to the impact of 1 year of activity. And this is a way for us to understand where they are compared to other competitors, how they are contributing to the carbon footprint of their clients, how they are impacted by the carbon footprint of their suppliers. So this is all the value chain, in fact, that is more or less assessed thanks to that exercise. And this is also a way to explain them how to be efficient in order to reduce the carbon footprint. So sometimes you could have some idea at the beginning that if you do something about the paper and you're going to sort a bit better your waste, you are going to almost save the earth. And when we do the reality, the real accounting, we can show them that in fact in a quantified way, the reality is more focused on energy, is more focused on car fleet, for example, is more focused on suppliers related to raw material, and this is a way to at the end design a carbon reduction plan that is more effective. Then there is another dynamic that is more about setting targets regarding a reduction, how they have to be ambitious in order to, let's say, credible in their climate action. And we discuss about carbon neutrality too. So here we are talking about getting CO2 neutral. That means, in fact, that they have put all the means to be credible in their internal carbon reduction. And then there is an opportunity, in fact, to support more globally projects that are going to avoid or to sequestrate CO2 in a way or in another way, but through credible and certified projects. And here it's a way at the end to reach a balance between what has been emitted and what has been reduced or avoided or sequestrated internally and globally. And we suggest that approach in order to be effective, because in fact we have the possibility also to show them that getting CO2 neutral in fact is a very cost-effective way, because all the CO2 emissions that you are emitting today is going to have an impact in the future. And there are some economical studies that show that for 1 ton of CO2 that you are emitting today, future generations are going to pay a bill of around 400 euros per ton of CO2. So that's huge. And and there is a big uncertainty about that number, but at least it provides a magnitude of the impact. And you can today reduce internally and globally your CO2 emissions for far less than that. So a ton of CO2 that you buy to support a project, internal project, it's around 10 euros per ton, maybe 20, it can be even 5. So it depends on the projects, of the how you are going to avoid or to sequestrate the CO2 emission, but it's really less than that. So it's really effective, in fact, to have this extensive responsibility to reach your balance in a global way, instead of just emitting your CO2 emissions and waiting for the future generations to pay for that. So that's basically the approach. And we are talking not for the first year with SMEs, but for the second or third year, more about tools that they can implement in order to monitor their carbon strategy. So it can be, for example, getting science-based, having their carbon reduction targets to be science-based targets. So that's something that has been it's an initiative, a worldwide initiative launched by CDP and WRI, and I think there is another one. And so SBT is for science-based target, and it's a way to, in fact, validate the ambition of your targets in a neutral way. So that there is a scientific committee that is going to just analyze how you are going to reach your target and what is your target, and are they online in line with the Paris Agreement ambition. So it's not only telling that within 10 years you are going to reduce by 10% your carbon reduction. It's really something that has to be aligned with the Paris Agreement ambition, and that's quite important. And there is a clear dynamic, even for SMEs, to go to this science-based target initiative. And there is a specific one for SMEs, SBT for SMEs. If you put that on Google, you can have extra information related to that. We can speak about implementing an internal carbon price sometimes. So it's a voluntary one, just to valorize inside a company what should be, what could be the impact related to all the CO2 emissions. And sometimes we can also discuss about the extension of the carbon footprint accounting, because there are several scopes to be taken into account. At the beginning, it's something that is very focused on the direct activities, but more and more, when they are getting mature, companies are willing to understand a bit better all the scopes that are indirectly impacted by their activities in terms of carbon emissions too.